a very surreal experience because you're trapped in a house.
Yeah.
You can't leave. You can't go anywhere by yourself.
Really?
You have no phone. And it's insane. You're living like that for like 2 months or so.
It's like an entrepreneurial Love Island, like in the sense, obviously without the love.
This is Get Back season, baby.
And we're back again, guys. It is Get Back season, and we're back with another episode. As you guys can see, we're back again in a complete different studio. So last week we were down in London interviewing Jamelia, and now today we have the privilege of interviewing Sohail. For those who may not know, obviously Sohail was on the show on BBC The Apprentice. For all you business entrepreneur guys or women that watch that show, obviously managed to get him on just for you guys.
And you did a good job with that, by the way, as well. Very, very persistent. Persistency pays off, and you managed to do it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So introduce yourself for those who don't know.
Oh, yeah, of course. So my name is Sohail. I run a martial arts club, entrepreneur as well. So I've got a couple of different businesses.
Yeah.
And I happen to be on the TV show called The Apprentice. I don't know if you heard of it before.
Yeah, I've been watching The Apprentice for, I don't know, for years now. Like at one point, my mum was like, "Why didn't you apply?" Like, because I think everyone that watches The Apprentice, because they have like so many different layers where you guys are doing marketing, you're doing events and sales. I'll be watching it and I'm like, why would you do that? Like, everyone feels like they're expert, if that makes sense.
This is where The Apprentice are amazing, right? Because you always watch it, you're like, those guys are idiots.
Yeah.
And then you're on TV, you're just like, I'm that idiot.
No, literally, like I remember a few seasons ago I was watching something, I was like, why would you do that? I think it was like sales, and they asked the person, I think it was one of the episodes, they asked one of the investors, they're like, what number would you want? And I was thinking, first rule of sales, you don't ask them, you throw out your number and you kind of work your way down or work your way up, if that makes sense. But I feel like the more I'm getting older and I'm starting to understand, I feel like it's not as easy. It's easy to say you're expert, then when you're actually in the situation, it's a complete different scenario.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot more to it than what happens on the screen.
Yeah.
I can't say too much or I'll get in trouble. I get in trouble a lot for things.
No, that's
but I mean,
understandable.
it's an entertainment show. That's what it is at the end of the day, and they're great at it. Like, don't get me wrong, like The Apprentice has so many viewers. It has millions and millions of viewers for a reason, and it is entertainment. But that said, I mean, you know, you do have all those parts where it's crazy. You look like a fool sometimes, right? But then the opportunities off the back of it are insane, like absolutely insane. You got millions of people watching you.
Yeah.
You can get in contact with all these amazing people. It's unbelievable.
I could imagine it's a great space to, like, let's just say, network and make, let's just say, even more bigger opportunities, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But before we go, let's just say, before we dive into The Apprentice, like, what's the backstory? Like, I don't want to be that person that's like, what was your childhood like and all of those stuff, but would you say you always had like an entrepreneurial spirit from when you were young? Or
do you know what? I like to ask this to a lot of people, right? Do you think I grew up like with wealth or without wealth?
But what, me personally to you, like?
Yeah. Just judge me.
Judge you. I wouldn't say so. I feel like a lot of people just live like. I feel like you had probably a good upbringing, in the sense of how you conduct yourself, how you speak, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like you came from a good household. I feel like I'm not a person when it comes to like. I don't believe in the whole. They come from wealth or they don't come from wealth, because I feel like I'm a big person where it doesn't matter, because ultimately I see it as our parents work hard for a reason to change your life. So even if, let's just say, you came from a place of wealth, to make it where you are now, that's still great, because there's people that come from wealthy households but still do shit in life. If that makes sense.
Of course.
So for me, it's not really a thing. But what was it like for you growing up?
Interesting. So no, it's really interesting that you say that, because a lot of people will see me, right? They'll see the social media side of me. They'll see the show and they'll be like, you know what? He grew up with wealth. And a lot of people will say that. But I'm that kid from the council house. That's the reality of it. So when I was 7 years old, loads of things happened in my household, which I won't go into detail with. But you know, I was 7 to 11 years old and had a lot of things going on at home. I was from that place where we had no money growing up. Like no money at all. From 7 years old upwards, nothing. Like literally council houses all the way through. And for me, that was important to to go through because that shapes who you are.
100%.
Right? When you haven't got money in life, it makes you so much more grateful for everything that you've got, but also pushes you to strive that little bit more. You know, I have so many friends, so many family members who have got loads and loads of money, and it changes who you are when you don't have it. You know, that mindset. And a lot of people have seen my past. Those who like really know me would have heard about what's happened. They would feel sorry for me. But for me, I'm just there like, do you know what? That's been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
100%. I feel like I can relate as well because I wasn't born in this country, so I'm originally from Jamaica. Came over to the UK when I was a bit younger. When I first came from Jamaica, I was living down in London, and same as well. I was in council flats and stuff like that. And for me, it was one of those situations. I understand where you're saying. It's like when you don't have something, I don't know. It's like you have a different type of hunger in you. Like you start to think of different ways of how you can get money or how you can either get yourself or your family out of that situation. Because I'm not sure if you've probably thought like this, but like, for example, when I was younger, even when you're like 6 or 7, let's just say when you can't get certain things, in my head, I'm like, I can't wait until I make it so my mum doesn't have to worry about this, my dad doesn't have to worry about that. And it's like, from a young age, you then start to take like an adult role, if that makes sense. When you're 6, 7, taking on things on top of your head.
So that was me throughout my whole childhood. So basically, single mum household. That's what I had from the age of 7 upwards, pretty much. And I had to take on that role. So, you know, I was that person who ended up having to be the parent to all my younger siblings. I've got 3 younger ones. And it really does define you, and it really does shape you as a person.
100%.
And you know what? The reason why I went onto the show as well was to showcase a platform. I wanted to be a platform for me that I could say to people that, do you know what? I've come from this bad background. I've made it. You can too. You know, you might look at things and be like, this is the worst thing going on right now, because everyone goes through those phases, 100%. Right? But by the end of it, you come out so much more stronger, so much better, and it's incredible. And when you make it as well, by the way, oh my God, that feeling of success is insane.
It's a different feeling, isn't it?
It's so insane.
I could imagine. It's like, it's that hunger of like, it's imagine yourself when you're younger and get into a place where it's like you almost plan ahead, because I feel like we have similar backgrounds, because I'm the eldest as well. I've got about 4 or 5 younger siblings, split, so my parents split, so it's a bit complicated anyways. But I'm the eldest out of my siblings, so growing up I had to take that role of like that leader, if that makes sense. Even though I had both of my parents, I was lucky to have my mum and my dad. But with my dad being in the military, we always travelled, we were always moving about. So he was busy a lot of the time. So for me, I had to step up, if that makes sense. So from like early age, I probably knew how to cook since I was like 11, 12. I was cooking. My mum would be at work. I'll come home from school and she'd be like, could you season up this? Or could you like, start cooking this for me? I'll finish it when I get home. So I feel like I understand like the responsibility that you have. And the determination as well to kind of say to yourself, I need to make it out, because you see yourself almost as a role model for your siblings and for those around you, because you want to let them know, like, if you work hard, your life can change as well, if that makes sense.
Of course. No, I get that. But you know what? That feeling of success is something else. You know, I remember I ended up having... So when I was 17 years old, still had no money, and I worked my ass off to get an Xbox. So I didn't have an Xbox, right? And I worked so hard to get it, and I had the money to buy a brand new one, but I was like, do you know what? I'm going to get a used one. I paid £80 when I was 17 years old, and I bought an Xbox. It was so fulfilling. It was honestly so fulfilling. I remember getting it. I opened it. I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Now, fast forward about 5 years or 5, 6, 7 years, however long, I bought a brand new Tesla. I rocked up. I picked up.
It's a very beautiful car, by the way. I wish you guys could see it. It's very nice.
Thank you. But imagine, I rocked up and I bought this brand new Tesla, literally in the showroom, brand new. I kid you not, I had more satisfaction with the £80 Xbox.
Really?
More satisfaction with the £80 Xbox.
What do you reckon's changed then? What changed? Do you think, like, because you got to that first stage, do you reckon, like, that you don't feel like you have anything to prove, like, anymore? Like,
it's when you work for something, like, it doesn't matter about the materialistic things. It's that matter of when you work for something so much and you finally manage to get it, and like after wanting it so much, that's what it was. Right? This Xbox I'd wanted for years and years and years. Managed to get it, and I kid you not, I was so happy in that moment. I still remember it. It was that and my first phone that I got. That I bought for myself. It was insane. But now you pick up a Tesla and it's like, do you know what? That's that's like a side thing of everything that's happened, and it's kind of like, okay, cool, it's there.
Yeah.
But it's not something I've really worked for and really driven and made happen.
Yeah.
But that Xbox was something else. I
Yeah.
kid you not. Like when you work for something, you have that goal in your mind, you get it. Materialistic things don't matter.
Yeah,
that satisfaction is
it
what
feels
matters.
completely different because I remember like when I was back in school, I used to back in the days of paper round. I don't even know if paper round is still a thing, but at the time I was living in Stafford. We just moved from Scotland, and we were living in Stafford, and I remember I took up a job at a paper round, so I was delivering newspapers early in the morning before school, and then I used to sell sweets in school like every other kid, sweets, Lucozade, whatever you name it. Used to sell it in school, and then the money that I used to get from that, so I used to do it smart. So my mum used to give me like £25 a week for lunch money, so like £5 a day. So I'd go to like Iceland. You spend £5, so I used to get like like those like KFC chicken breast things that you put in the oven. Buy a packet of wraps, buy lettuce, buy whatever, tomatoes. Use that £5 to make the whole of like my week wraps, if that makes sense. So that way I could make sure I have lunch. And the rest of the £20 I'd invest it in like sweets, chocolates, sell. And then I'd flip the money every week. My mum would give me 25, I was probably ending up with like £50-60 each week.
Oh, fair play. You were an entrepreneur from young there, weren't you?
I was saving. And I remember I never used to tell my mum what I was doing because I always had money, and she was like, but I don't give you pocket money, because like in my household I don't believe like in the sense of I need to give you something to just do chores around the house. Like we both live in the same house, the least you can do is hoover, the least you can do is wash up, etc. So I remember one time I used to stash all my money in the bottom of like underneath my bed in like this little Nike box. One time my mum was tidying up my room, and I came home, she was like just money stuffed in there. I think there was over like £200-300 or whatever in there. It was just wrapped in, and I used to elastic band it as well. And she was like, where's this coming from? Like God knows what she thought I was doing. And I was like, sweets? And she was like, what? And I explained it to her. I was like, I'm selling sweets so like I can have my own stuff. And I remember I've always loved like fashion and stuff. So I always used to spend my money on clothes, but there was no better feeling, like, even though it's not the same as the Xbox, but there's no better feeling knowing I've gone somewhere, I've looked at something, and I can afford to buy it.
Yeah.
And it came off of my own hard work, if that makes sense. It's a different type of feeling.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, like just working hard for getting something. You know, when you know you genuinely worked hard for it and you finally get it, that feeling is just unbelievable. You know,
100%.
and a lot of people as well, maybe they haven't gone through that yet. You know, it's a case of they've had their hardships in life, they're working through things now, and they're yet to get that little item which they buy, which makes them feel good.
No,
you know?
100%.
But honestly, that feeling is insane. It's absolutely insane when you finally manage to get what you want. Everything that you've ever wanted, you finally manage to hit. It's unbelievable.
It's like a new milestone. So touching on your childhood then, after progressing through like your childhood, were you always based in Southampton, or was it London?
Yeah, I was always based in Southampton. That was it for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I had everything around there. So literally like school, not college, but it was uni, work, business,
I was
everything.
just about to say, did you go to uni then? Like, what did you study?
I did. I went to university. I did economics and business.
Okay.
So that was my course. But it was really interesting because I did that, and I just found that you had so much free time. Like, it's unbelievable. You're in university, right? You go into lectures like 1 or 2 hours a day, and it's like, what did you do with the rest of the time?
The rest is just there. Like I studied sports management, and for me it was pretty much the same. Like I'd go uni, and then as you said, like 1 or 3 hours a day, and then the rest I was just like, okay, what do I do? And I think at the time when I was going uni, I had like two or three jobs. So I was working at Nando's, I remember when I first started, and then I was an events manager there was a club literally on this road called Players. And then I started doing events there, and then I switched to a different club, and I started putting on like uni events, if that makes sense, for students. And for me, that's what took up a bunch of my time. So would you say uni helped shape your business mindset?
Yes, this is what I was going to say, because university, you do have all that free time, right? But it's so important what you do with that time. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people go to university for the university experience, and that's all good if that's, what you're going for.
Yeah.
But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to just like shape your mindset from then.
100%.
And for me, that's what I ended up doing. So rather than messing around, going to parties, doing all this sort of stuff, I was part of the business society, and I was heavily focused on that, like heavily
It's actually
focused.
good that you had a business society. I wish my uni had one, or maybe they did. And I didn't know.
They probably did. This is the thing. They probably did, but a lot of people don't really hear about them so much.
Yeah.
Just because most people, they want to go to uni for the uni experience.
Yeah,
right.
that's
You're going to hear about all the other crazy societies, but you know, the business ones
Yeah.
often get left behind. But I was part of it first, and so I was listening to all these millionaires talk about their experience, all the rest.
Yeah.
And then I pushed and became president the next year.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. Then all of a sudden, these millionaires, I'm connecting with them. I'm chatting to them. I'm getting them in for talks. But it changes your mindset. You know, when you've heard about this whole thing, right? You're upgrading your network and all the rest.
Yeah.
When I started to do that, my goodness, the opportunities came. It was insane.
So like going from there, then would you say uni was worth it? Because I feel like, especially on social media in the era that we live in now, I feel like a lot of people tend to bash uni only because, like, obviously there's different entrepreneurs and business people out there that didn't take the traditional, let's just say, college, uni route and whatnot, and it may have just taken the risk to kind of just say, okay, let me just launch a business. Because it does well, I feel like a lot of people now are having like a negative connotation towards uni and see it as pointless, whereas for me, I see it as a place where, as you said, if you use it the right way, it can be very beneficial. Less so much the course, because I feel like it depends what course you do and probably what type of uni you go to. But for me, if you use the foundations that are set around you, so i.e. the people for networking, even your lecturers, because some lecturers are very insightful and can direct you in certain places. So would you say it was worth it then?
So for me, I always say this thing: uni is only ever as good as you make it. Depends on where you want to go in life as well with things. You know, you're going to have, like I said, an insane amount of time, like absolutely insane amount of time. But if you want to be someone who's a business person, you're going to have to make use of it like that, you know, rather than doing the whole uni experience, going out and being part of things. And for me personally, I feel like I made use out of uni as best as I could. So, you know, I was out and about, I was connecting with all these people. I made lifelong friends as well who are in the business world, and they've helped so much throughout my whole experiences. So for me, it was worthwhile. Now, I can't say the same for a lot of friends, because a lot of them have regretted going, because they'll do a course, they won't have much direction, they went for the uni experience, they'll be partying, they end up in debt, and they're struggling for jobs. And that is the sad truth of it. You know, university is only ever going to be as good as you make it, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people miss that.
No,
you know?
I can say it's 100% true, because like I'm not gonna sit here and say like I was the most perfect person, what's his name, going into uni, and I was the most focused, especially within my first year. So I came, at the time I was living out in Cyprus, and then I moved over to the UK, and I think for my first year I had the mindset of like, because I come from like a strict, my family's quite strict in the sense of household, so all like the clubbing stuff and whatnot I wasn't necessarily doing, so let's just say I missed that phase, like that stage of my life. So when I came to uni, like I had the mindset like, like to learn obviously, but I thought, like we're just gonna have fun, blah blah blah. And within literally the first few months, because I've always been naturally book smart, if you like to call it, so I never really had to put in much effort towards like when it comes to education, luckily. So because I've always been like that, when I came to uni I had the mentality of like, let's party, let's do this, let's do that. But then literally within a few months I started to burn out, if that makes sense, and I had to take a pause for a second. I had to take a pause for a second, and I had to assess the people that were around me, and I was trying to think like, hold on, do I want to do this for the next 2-3 years to finish my course, and 4, what do I want for myself long term? And I had to ask myself that question. When I realized, I was like, okay, let me take a step back, let me refresh, and let me just focus. And then once I focused, I stopped chilling with the wrong crowds. I started chilling with the people that actually want to get stuff done. And once I started doing that, my whole life kind of changed, and even my mindset, because how I think now, and the things that I want to achieve, and the role model I want to be for like those around me. I never really had that mindset before. It was mainly just focused on myself, like selfish type thing. Whereas now, as the conversation we kind of had downstairs, like I just want to help people, if that makes sense. I want to be in a position where my brothers, my sisters, my friends can look up to me and be like, okay, if he can do it, then I can do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And it goes back to the whole thing, right? It's just about your network and who you got with you as well.
Yeah.
It affects you big time. Like really, really, it's insane, right? Because I had a group of friends who they were just doing their average thing in life. Okay, so you know, normal 9 to 5 and all the rest. when I upgraded and all of a sudden I had all these business contacts in my network and, even if, for example, they weren't in business, but they were more ambitious, they were driven, they were out and about trying different things, my mindset changed big time. And I think that's one of the most important things as well, because when you surround yourself by people like that, you just naturally pick up on things. Then all of a sudden I hear that one of my mates, he's out doing all these things and like closing sales. And all of a sudden I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I want to be doing that. And then it pushes you to work, 100%. And then it's really interesting, like the whole shift, because I think I had that moment that you're talking about. I had that in college. So the first year it was just messed around kind of friends, which is all good. It's all good having fun, all the rest. Second year of college is when I started to knuckle down. Then all of a sudden focus, but also switched up my circle. Then it changed everything. Then as soon as I got to university, I was still on that focused wavelength. And it was just pure business throughout. And then it was just like upgrading everything, talking to all those people, changing my mindset as well all the way through it. And it became a crazy thing.
That's actually important. So would you say, like, growing up then and going through college, going through uni, did you always want to like be an entrepreneur? Did you always want to have your own thing, or did you envision yourself, let's just say, working in a 9-to-5? Because I feel like a lot of people, let's just say, go through uni, even the ones that study business and whatnot, they go through it and they just have the one way thinking of, okay, grow up, get education, jump in a 9-to-5. Did your household, when you're growing up, did your mum ever kind of shape you and kind of say, like, steer towards like having something up for yourself, or was it more of, okay, get the education and make sure you get a good job?
So my mum was always the case. It was always a case of like, kind of just do whatever you want to do. It was always like that. I was always kind of the man of the house, and it was my decision. But there's obviously a lot of family influences as well.
100%.
And brown families, it's a case of be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an accountant, be one of those.
I can imagine.
It's like they push you like crazy to try and do that. Now me, I'm an entrepreneur. I knew it from young that you would never be a millionaire. You would never be driving a Lamborghini if you work in a 9-to-5.
100%.
Like, don't get me wrong, you can do, but then you'll probably be in a lot of debt.
There's certain 9-to-5s that you can probably afford to do that, and it's going to take a very long time.
Exactly, and that's how it works. And then, so for me, I knew from very young. So there's actually this video on YouTube as well. I'm there as this kid in year 10 or year 11, I think it is, and I'm just there talking about how I'm going to make businesses, have an empire, and all the rest of it. Like, there's this crazy little YouTube video out there, and loads of people sent it to me, like, since the show's aired and stuff.
Oh, they've been searching up your name.
They have. It's crazy. And then it's weird though. It's like a full circle, because I had the same mindset back then as I do now. Like I still want to have an empire of businesses and all this sort of stuff. It's a weird full circle, a very, very weird full circle. But for me, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to do something different. I knew that to make money in life, you can't just work a normal 9-to-5. You're going to have either a side hustle or have multiple businesses. They say, like, what is it, 6 streams of income to become a millionaire, all this sort of stuff. I knew that from young. And I think that's what helped shape me and always kind of push me towards the route of being an entrepreneur. Now, don't get me wrong, they did influence me to go into accounting. I finished university. And I remember having this conversation, because it was there like, right, okay, I want to create a martial arts business. And everyone was there like, what? You're going to turn down the biggest accounts company in the UK to run a martial arts business? I was there like, yeah. And they were like, no, don't do it. Go into accounting. I fell victim to it, so I went into accounting. Okay? And it wasn't until I actually got fired from accounting that I had the opportunity to do it.
It's actually interesting that you said it, because I feel like not a lot of people will be like vulnerable enough to kind of say, I got fired.
I'm happy to say it. I'm more than happy to say it, because it was the best thing that ever happened to me. That's what I think a lot of people miss. They miss how golden opportunities like that actually shape you for the future. So I was in accounting. I started there and I was there for 9 months. And a top accounts company in the UK. I'm this council house kid, right? So
what was your salary, if you don't mind me asking?
So back then, I think it was about 23 and a half. Something like that. So you started off straight out of uni on that sort of salary. Which was good, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I didn't have a proper job before then. I was always an entrepreneur and doing my own thing. This is my first job. Everything's supposed to be sorted, so they pay for all your exams and everything else. Once you become chartered, you're earning big bucks as well. Fast forward 9 months, I failed one exam, and they're like, you got 4 weeks to go. And I'm like, what?
Well, hold on.
Exactly. And so I remember I was in a state of shock. I was there like, what is going on? Panic mode, full on panic mode. Because when you come from nothing, all your hopes lie in this one thing. You got your whole future planned out with this one company. You know exactly where you want to go, and it's just crushed.
And it's like you plan your story ahead of time. It's like you get in and you think, okay, within 5 years or 3 years, I'm gonna hit this part, and I'm gonna be on this amount of money. It's like you plan ahead.
I planned for 5 years.
Yeah,
I literally planned for 5 years.
That's exactly me.
I said as soon as I started at PwC,
Yeah.
that I was going to do this in year 1, this year 2, this year 3.
Yeah.
I had properties included in there as well. I had such a detailed plan. 9 months in, all comes falling to the ground. All crumbled like crazy.
That's the thing with life. I feel like life will is very quick to humble you at times, because even though you may have your plan, like sometimes things don't just always go to plan, if that makes sense. There's things that are always just thrown in the mixture, and it's just like you either have to adapt, and while you adapt, that's what will shape you, or if you don't adapt, you're just going to get lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing which a lot of people don't see, because that was actually a blessing in disguise, the biggest blessing in disguise that I could have asked for.
Yeah.
I was given 4 weeks, and I spent 3 of those weeks planning and putting everything together, just make sure everything would run smoothly for when I created the martial arts business.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my family, I was there like, right, okay, I got fired from accounting, so I'm going to go teach people how to kick and punch. I was going to make a martial arts business. They were like, what? You're going to teach people how to like fling their arms and legs about?
Wait,
you're
so
going to give up accounting?
How did you get into martial? Were you doing martial arts from younger then?
I did it from a young age.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought you just like you done accounting. You said, yeah, I'm gonna go learn how to do martial arts from scratch now.
No. So basically, I did martial arts as a kid as well.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, when I was like in accounts house and all the rest of it, everyone has their escapisms, right? So
Yeah.
everyone ends up doing something which just helps you get away from all the craziness of life. And for me, it was martial arts.
Yeah.
So when I was 7, I was put into martial arts.
Yeah.
Carried on for a little while. Then when I was like 11, 12, I did it properly. Got all the way to black belt as well, but it was such an incredible thing. Yeah, so I got black belt quite young as well in kickboxing.
So basically, don't mess with him. If you see him on the streets and you want to beef him, just don't do it at all.
Or if you need a bodyguard, hit me up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you did that from your 7.
Yeah, so when I was 7 years old, and yeah, I trained in martial arts, loads of other ones. So I did it. I had my black belt. I did all these things. I know I was good at it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, eventually I was just there like, do you know what? I got fired.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a martial arts club, and it ended up happening. It was crazy. So imagine I had 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I had to plan everything that I could.
Yeah.
I actually put in £200 into this business.
Yeah.
I said to myself, I'm not going to lose more than £200. Otherwise, I'll go back to accounting because it's the safe option, right? All my family is telling me this.
Yeah.
I put in £200. It was making about £1,000 a month.
What?
I was like, hold on, something's working here.
Yeah. You just
Now,
saw the potential straight away.
You do not need to go to uni and pay £9,000 a year to realize what to do next.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
You put in another £200, you make another £1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And everything just snowballed from there.
Yeah.
It was insane. All of a sudden, like this money came out of nowhere. Don't get me wrong. There's costs on top of it. That's not all profit.
Yeah. 100%.
But I mean, yeah, it was insane. Like the whole journey was incredible, and I tapped into a market where I was using Facebook adverts, which was fairly new at the time as well. So none of the competitors were doing it, and all of a sudden we were getting floods of people coming to us.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. We grew so fast, and yeah, it was just such a whirlwind when I look back at it.
Yeah.
But even throughout all of that, I still had family and friends telling me, why are you going to teach people how to do martial arts rather than accounting?
It's because I feel like, especially with the more traditional side of things, growing up, they didn't like the social media, this technology that we have now. Like, people are becoming millionaires just from having a website or just from having a social media account. Whereas I feel like, let's just say, the lives that our parents and our grandparents and our aunties were living before, it wasn't so like technical and technically advanced. So a lot of the opportunities that we have now, like to make money literally just from our phones, explaining that to them, and kind of saying, look, I'm not gonna do the 9 to 5. I'm gonna just be more creative and actually create something. For a lot of people, it can be seen as a risk. And one thing I'm able to grasp, especially from growing up with a lot of like mature people and a lot of older people around me, I always used to like explain business stuff to them. They're like, first thing they go is like, oh, are you sure? Because I feel like with us as humans, I feel like when it comes to the risk factor, we like our comfortability. We like knowing, okay, 9 to 5, 9 till 5, and I know every single month or every single week I'm gonna get this amount of money. Whereas you probably know yourself, being an entrepreneur, when you have your own business, you're not getting the same money. I'm sure as much as you had great times and you're making money, you may have had like certain bad times where, okay, maybe this month's pay isn't as good as last month, if that makes sense. And it's one of those things you have to ask yourself, mentally, are you able to comprehend and be like, okay, I'm gonna accept that, I'm gonna assess where I've kind of gone wrong and make sure my next month is even better, or am I going to let it defeat me and then go back to the comfortability of a 9 to 5, if that makes sense.
And this is one interesting thing as well, because I say this a lot publicly.
Yeah.
A lot of people come onto podcasts,
Yeah.
they will do talks, and they will say about how much of an amazing journey they've had. They've gone from 0 to $1 million
Yeah.
in a year, and they've had no issues at all, and everything's perfect.
Yeah.
It's never the case. It's never, ever the case. If you can bring me one example where someone didn't stress, I'd be very, very surprised. Because there's a hell of a lot of stress in running a business. Like a hell of a lot. I can tell you my story as well, how you go from 0 to multi-six figures really, really quickly.
Yeah.
But then it's a case of, I had my bumps along the way.
Yeah.
There was a hell of a lot of them. And I keep it real. I keep it honest with a lot of things. So, I've had all sorts of crazy stories. Some people even threatening me at like 11 o'clock on a Sunday,
What the hell?
right? 11 p.m. Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I'm there just trying to relax. And I remember just getting messages coming through, just like, why are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What's your address? They were saying.
What the hell?
I'm thinking, for God's sake,
Yeah.
like, you don't want to be dealing with that on a Sunday.
None at all. None at all.
And being an entrepreneur, you have to deal with that. You work a 9 to 5, you ain't going to be dealing with that.
This
right?
is what people don't understand. It's like a 9 to 5 is literally 9 to 5. I think you're probably working, let's just say 7, 8 hours, including a lunch break or a bit less. Whereas being an entrepreneur, like it's you're not working just from a 9 to 5. Sometimes you're working all day, if that makes sense. It's like you're constant, you're on your phone. It's like I have my normal 9 to 5, what I do throughout Monday to Friday, but even at the times where I'm at work, I've spoken about this before, I'm editing. Like I should be focusing, but I'm on the side, I'm like editing on my lunch break, or I'm reaching out to other people, networking to see who I'm getting on the podcast next. So it doesn't stop. if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So here's what a lot of people don't actually talk about, right? It's the whole mental strain that they have on you as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're running a business, you have much more of a heavy mental strain.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, if you're working 9 to 5, you work 9 to 5 and you'll clock out. You may be thinking about work for a little while.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, you are 24/7. Like, you are thinking about things constantly, and it's so hard to switch off. Some people can, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's always gonna be in the back of your head. If you've got an issue going on where, for example, in my business, where, for example, we've got a shortage of instructors.
Yeah.
We've got no instructor to cover class next week.
Yeah.
You're thinking about that 24/7. You can't switch off. You're sat down having dinner with your family. You can't not think
Your
about it.
mind is just away, isn't it?
Exactly. And those active hours as an entrepreneur
Yeah.
is insane. I've had it so many times before, by the way. I will literally wake up at 5, 6 in the morning. I'll be like, do you know what? I need to get this done. This is bugging me. And you'll be on work straight away.
Yeah.
And even if you're not on work, you're still thinking about it. You got the next issue. As an entrepreneur, you're always going to be mentally focused.
Yeah.
You're always going to be in this mental state of what's coming up next. And yes, you can enjoy it at some points where you'll have these blissful moments, but there's a lot of moments where you're going to be stressing as well. Not unless you can have a business which is fully automated where you don't have to get involved. But then that's such a rare thing. As an entrepreneur,
It's very rare.
you're going to be wanting to get involved and do the next thing and innovate, and that comes with its issues, which means that you're just focused all the time. It's hard to switch off. But if anyone can get to that point who can do it, by the way, then reach out and teach me how.
Please reach out, because I feel like I have the same issue of like, especially when I'm like working with the podcast, and then right now I'm currently in the middle of like looking for like a career change, if that makes sense. So I'm focused on that and trying new things. So I'm exactly the same. Sometimes me and my fiance will be having like dinner, or even when we go out on date night, it's like I'm there but I'm not there, if that makes sense. And even sometimes she has to be like, babe, like, are you okay? Because as you said, like our minds are constantly processing new things, or even if it's not new things, you're thinking about, okay, how can I resolve this issue and how can I resolve that? So I feel like that it is a very big strain. So
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one as well. But being an entrepreneur,
yeah,
having relationships while you're an entrepreneur, it suffers.
what
a
is
lot,
your
doesn't
stance
it?
on that? Because I actually see a lot of things, like especially on Instagram and like different parts of social media, especially mainly over America, but I feel like now it's more in the UK as well. You get those people that are like, as an entrepreneur, you need to be this type of person. You don't have time for relationships. Don't get a woman, or even if you are, don't get anything serious. But I feel like it's a mixture. All depends of what type of person you have with you. But what's your like first hand stance on that?
So yeah, it's really interesting because entrepreneurs as a whole, I feel like just aren't great at relationships.
Yeah.
They're more in love with their business than they are with their person,
Yeah.
which is not great. It's honestly not great.
Yeah.
Now, it's one of those things where, as a person who's an entrepreneur, you need to be able to balance your time out. You need to be able to set your priorities straight.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people miss that most of the time. But I have to say as well, I think it's so important to get somebody who's on your wavelength, someone who's going to understand what it's like. And, you know, if, for example, it's at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday, understand that, you know, you have to go zip away for like an hour or so and get this call done, get this meeting sorted and whatever else. You're going to need someone understanding like that.
No, 100%.
Not everyone wants an entrepreneurial type of person. And that's one of the struggles in today's society, I feel, especially when it comes to business owners, finding someone who is on your same wavelength.
Yeah, I feel like, because a lot of the times we see the end result, like on like Instagram, we can see the other side of someone's life. We don't see what they go through. We just see that little snippet, and we may see the money, the cars, the success. And let's just say women that look towards, or even men that look towards like, or looking towards like women and stuff like that. It's one of those things where you just see the end result and they see the money factor and they think, I can have a great lifestyle, but they don't see it. Okay, your partner may have long days. He may not be available for dates. When it comes to contact and just being present, it may be a lot harder, but I feel like those things ain't spoken about enough. So that's why I feel like you get a lot of like women now. It's more of a thing where, okay, I want a guy that's a millionaire. I want to go get her, but it's like, are you in a position that you can handle? Not like, can you handle everything that comes with it?
Yeah, and do you know what? I want to say something controversial.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs are selfish. They're egotistical as well. It's a trait of an entrepreneur, okay? It's a fact, and it's so true. Now, when it comes to relationships as well, the entrepreneur is going to always want to talk about themselves. Always want to talk about themselves. Get the partner to join them on their journey, rather than speaking about the other person. And I think that's where a lot of the times it falls down. And I feel like, as a partner, if you're gonna go to an entrepreneur because of the whole money side of things or whatever else, you're going to have to understand that they are going to be a little bit egotistical as well. They are going to be selfish. They're going to want to talk about themselves more than you. And I feel like that's what a lot of people miss out on. But that's also why a lot of relationships fail. Because I don't know about you and your relationship, but you know, a lot of times, you know, I've seen it in my friends' relationships as well, where they're so focused on themselves. One of them literally broke up. He was with this girl for 5 years. He was so focused on himself, building up his own thing. He neglected his girl. And it was sad to see, because those were like, they were perfect for each other. But I get it at the same time. He's an entrepreneur. He wants to go out. He wants to do his own thing. But it's a trait of being an entrepreneur. You are selfish, and
I definitely understand, because for me, like, speaking from like my stance, like, I'm lucky enough, like, with me and my partner, we've always had that understanding of, like, we're like a football team. So like, if one of us are down, you're gonna pick the other one up, or vice versa. So even when we got together, and obviously we spoke about our ambitions and whatnot, like, she's very enough like my cheerleader as well. Like, she's always on my case. Like, she makes, one thing I respect with her is that she keeps me to my word. So like, if I say I'm gonna do something, regardless if it's like my business or whatever, or even if it's work, she'll be like, remember you said this, or remember to keep on top. And I'm very much the same with her. So like, even like now, for example, she's in the creative like industry as well. Like, she does like Instagram videos and stuff like that, and she's a model as well. So there's times where she's very like, she'll spend hours editing, but we're literally present with each other, but no one is speaking. We're just like editing videos, but there's that understanding, like, we're both working, if that makes sense.
So that's good. Now, do you reckon it would be the same if you had someone who was working a normal 9 to 5?
Oh, I don't know, because like, she has a 9 to 5, but that's just part-time. That's just there, if that makes sense. Like, she doesn't really, I wouldn't say she doesn't care about it, but it's not like her main focus point. But I reckon if she probably just had a 9 to 5, and I feel like it'd probably be a bit harder, you know. The only reason why I say that is because when you come home and she's been, let's just say, at the 9 to 5, and she's in that space now to communicate with you and, I don't know, have certain conversations, mainly as an entrepreneur, there is no 9 to 5, there is no stopping point. So I guess it would be a lot harder to kind of communicate, because you're more on the go. Like, if I was taking 3 hours to edit one video, and she's just sitting there, she's just gonna be like, okay, like, can we chill now?
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
And now, a lot of people, don't get me wrong, some people are understanding of that, but I feel like most people aren't.
Yeah. No,
and I understand it as well, because if my partner was, if I had my girl who was just there, like, editing videos, whatever else, and I was working a normal 9 to 5, and I didn't really get the time or attention from her, You'd feel neglected.
Yeah, 100%.
And it goes back to that whole thing. And then her being that entrepreneurial type person, it comes back to her being a little bit selfish, kind of doing her own thing rather than spending it with your person.
Yeah.
Which is why you need a balance. I always find that finding the right person is so important, but so difficult at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was lucky enough when I came over here, like, we met in uni. And we've literally been 5 years later, we've been together ever since. But yeah, so in regards to us now, so for me, I'd class myself as lucky, but straying away from relationships then, let's get to the nitty gritty. So The Apprentice, so what was would you say the foremost reason why you decided, okay, I'm going to jump on The Apprentice, and what was the application process and stuff like that?
Yeah, so do you know what? I got to a stage in my life where I was kind of living life. So I had the money coming in, I had a really good team around me, I had good automation as well. So I was only actually working 2 or 3 hours a week at max. That was it.
That's actually great.
Whilst running a multi-six-figure business, doing that, living that lifestyle, it's incredible. And I was just jetting off around the world for about a year until COVID hit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
COVID ruined everything for everyone.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, things started to go well again. And I said to myself, do you know what? I want a platform to be able to inspire people. I need the next thing.
Yeah.
Because as an entrepreneur, you never sat still. And I was there okay, cool. Business is doing well. I'm doing my thing. I'm making income, making my money. But I want to be able to just go on to the next thing. I want to be able to inspire people, say to people that, do you know what? I came from a council house.
Yeah.
Now I'm running a multi-six-figure business. You can do the same thing.
Do the same.
And so my platform was The Apprentice. And that's what I wanted to do. So COVID came along and I actually applied twice before.
Really?
Yeah. So the first year, I applied for it, got really, really far through the auditions, but then the whole thing was cut because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
The second time, this brown guy called Akshay managed to take the spot last year.
Oh, yeah.
So
was that? Did you say Akshay?
Akshay, yeah.
Okay.
So Akshay Thakrar. So him. So yeah, I love the guy, by the way. He's such a down to earth guy.
So I remember I was watching the previous one. That was last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, last season.
He was funny in there, and he was very controversial because he was one of those ones where he would have a point and he just wouldn't let it go, if that makes sense, especially with the team. But so he came along, and then you weren't considered for the role then.
Yeah, so I didn't get it last year. Yeah. So I didn't get it because he took that brown person spot, right?
Okay.
And then applied again, third time's a charm. Here we are. So managed to go through the process, and it was crazy. Absolute whirlwind of an experience, though.
So what was it like?
Oh, it was good. It was actually good. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, which I can't talk too much about. But there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. But overall, the process is insane. You go through the process, you do all the filming, and it's a very surreal experience because you're trapped in a house.
Yeah.
You can't leave. You can't go anywhere by yourself.
Really?
You have no phone, and it's insane. You're living like that for 2 months or so.
It's like an entrepreneurial Love Island, in the sense, obviously without the love, but it's more no phones, no nothing.
Yeah, in a way, yes. Yeah. But it was a nice experience at the same time. Having no phone, I did not realize how refreshing it is. But imagine you leave your phone for 2 months. You don't touch it at all.
Yeah.
It was such a nice feeling. We ended up, because imagine when you go home, right? Everyone's there on their phones all the time.
True.
Now we would go back to our house, the Apprentice house, and I would have Avi on that side and Mark on that side, not in the same bed, separate beds, thankfully.
Well, yeah.
And we'd have all these conversations, and I was there these are strangers. I had not met them before The Apprentice. I didn't know them a few weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And we're having these deep conversations. Purely because we had no phones. We were just there living in the moment, sharing all these crazy experiences.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was refreshing at the same time.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, that was April to June that we were doing the filming for. And now, obviously, all of it's been aired as well.
Yeah.
And it's been so surreal. So surreal. The amount of opportunities that come off the back of it, the number of people that reach out, the amount of support as well has been crazy. I mean, my edit was not amazing. I looked a little bit silly, but I mean, either way, I cannot stress just how good the exposures off the back of it. It's nuts.
Now, I feel like with the editing, you mainly came, how they either perceived you to be was more shy. I'm not sure if anyone else gets that. Let me know down in the comments. But, I think when you guys went to, was it Barbados?
Antigua.
And when you guys were meant to be, selling to, the tourists and stuff, the character that they kind of portrayed you to be was more, reserved, if that makes sense. Whereas meeting you now in, real life, I don't feel like you're shy or anything. Just feel like a normal like people person. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing which a lot of people won't see is that there's 18 candidates.
Yeah.
We started off with 18 in the very beginning. When you have to fit 18 candidates down into a 60-minute program, you haven't got much airtime.
Yes,
and they need to, what they do is they have to portray the person who gets fired, why they got fired. So they have to tell the story of the episode.
Yeah.
Now, we won on episode 1.
Yeah.
And so on episode 1, you're going to see next to nothing of us because we won. People don't really care. They need to kind of show the story of the girls, why they lost, why Emma ended up leaving, and all the rest. That's where the focus is. I ended up on the winning team quite a lot, which means that my parts were kind of cut off a little, quite a bit. And I mean, it's TV as well. At the end of the day, you know, the edits do say a lot about who you are. But at the same time, it's crazy because people still remember you as the guy from The Apprentice. Yeah,
no, 100%. Like, I feel like it's one of those shows, like, BBC's a huge platform. It's watched, like, globally. Lord Alan Sugar already as well. He's a big figurehead. So I feel like just the fact of you being on that show is, like, huge, like, collateral to you, if that makes sense. There's a lot of stuff that you can have now on your side where, whether it's future brand deals or future investments that you're seeking or whatnot, you're now going to be known as, oh yeah, you're on The Apprentice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How does it feel? Like, has anyone come up to you yet? Like, have you ever been walking, like, because I could, in my head, I can just imagine, like, if you've ever been walking, someone goes, oh, you're that guy. Like, has anyone approached you yet?
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. It's so surreal. People literally just come up to you and just say, like, oh my God, you're the guy from The Apprentice.
Yeah.
The funniest one, though, is when people just walk up to you and they'll just go, and they just walk off. They just get a selfie and they just walk off. They won't say a single word.
Does anyone go up to you and like, you're fired? Like, has anyone come up to you like that? Or is it just general, like, more of, they just want to socialise, they just want to take pictures, or they just want to acknowledge that they know who you are, if that makes sense?
I think it's just that. Like, a lot of people just want to take a picture and just be like, oh my God, we met this guy from TV. And it's a lot of that sort of thing. But it's, it's nice at the same time. It's a very surreal little bubble that you're in because, so if I'm with the other guys as well, you know, if we're walking around like Bullring, if we're walking around like Westfield, it's insane the number of people that come up to us. But at the same time, a lot of people, right, I'll walk past them, they'll give me the eye like, wait, where have I seen you from? And then they'll do that, but they won't ever speak to me. It's quite funny to see.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are shy. Would you say that, do you feel any pressure now? Because you've been, let's just say, on such a huge platform, when it comes to conducting yourself in social media and cancel culture, do you feel any more like, because let's just say before that, you could post pretty much whatever you want, let's just say. Not that you're going to post anything outlandish, but you could post anything that you want. Would you say that now that you've been on such a huge a huge show now, and let's just say a good amount of people have an idea of who you are, do you feel any pressures to kind of conduct yourself in a certain way so that way you don't tarnish the brand of the show, but then also your own personal brand that could potentially harm your business as well?
So I didn't realize how important social media was.
Yeah.
When I first did it, I put out this thing on TikTok, right? And I was like, let me just see how TikTok does. Okay, so I put out a little video, and then my sister was like, oh, do you know what? You should comment on other people's posts, the ones which are trending. Just put a quick emoji or something like that, and you know they'll see your profile, they'll click on you, right? And so I ended up going to these random pages. So the For You page, I literally scroll, put an emoji, post, scroll, emoji, post, scroll.
Yeah.
Then on my video started blowing up, right? So it went from 1.5k to like 10k to 50, 100, 200. It went crazy.
Yeah.
And then I started to have some hate comments. Someone was there like, oh, he bashes on young girls. I'm there thinking, what?
There's always stuff like this. Oh gosh.
And then there was this video which happened where some guy was talking about his ex who, they're like some TikTok people. I had no clue what it was. I just put an emoji just because of, you know, that whole thing. And all of a sudden these people were just there like, oh, he put a laughing emoji on this thing where this guy's talking about like his ex and whatever else. He hates young girls. Yeah. He's going to be bashing young girls and all this sort of stuff. I was there like, oh my God, what is going on? Just from one little emoji.
You start to think to yourself, where do people get this idea from, if that makes sense? And I feel like the issue with social media is you can get one, let's just say, random account that has 0 followers that says something like that, but then other people come and see that comment and they take it as gospel. They now go, oh wait, he does this, or he's this type of person, and then before you know it, there's a handful of people that have a certain perspective of you that is completely fabricated.
Yep. But I think it was from there, that's when I really learned the lesson. That's when I was there like, hold on, I have to be very, very careful in terms of what I post. And yeah, you do have to watch it.
No.
You know, I'll be honest, you do have to be very, very careful in terms of what is posted, what's not. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to be myself still.
Yeah.
I would never change my views and opinions to fit societal needs.
Yeah.
But for a lot of things, you know, sometimes you do have to be wary in terms of what you do say, because there are a lot of people watching.
Yeah.
You know, the whole show is just a crazy platform. Because imagine me and Mark, right? We went live and we were talking about how one of the showers is blocked in the house. So we went live, we were talking about this. There was about, I think, 300 or so people watch on Instagram Live. So it wasn't anything huge.
Yeah.
And we said that the shower was blocked one morning and there's a little trickle of water and there's a tiny little puddle outside on the carpet. The next morning, news article goes out and it's like, Sohail and Mark trashed the house. I think it's still up online as well, so you can have a look at it. It was like they trashed the house. They flooded the entire room. Production had to stop filming and all this sort of stuff. I'm thinking, what?
That's social media for you. And that's news outlets, because at the end of the day, controversy sells, if that makes sense. But at the same time, would you say it's good for you? Because there's that saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. So would you say it works in your favor, or it depends of the extent to what the media outlets are putting out?
I'm going to say they works in your favor. Now, I know a lot of people won't be too comfortable with that because some people put out controversial things just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you from my past experiences that if you put things out, people forget very quickly as well. You can sway people's minds.
Yeah.
So in the episode where I got fired, I looked like an idiot in that episode, right? Because a lot of things were geared for us to lose, and it was like, it just looked really bad.
Yeah.
There's me thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get cancelled. Like, this looks so bad. No one's going to take me seriously. And people forget so quickly.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, so quickly. So I feel like if I was to put something out controversial, people would care about it for a little while. Then they wouldn't care so much. They'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. Move on to the next thing.
No, 100%.
You know, I have this thing, right? You have this whole saying of 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
There's also 5 minutes of hate. Like, it will come and go so quickly. As long as you don't feed into it, 5 minutes of hate will be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, people forget and that's it, you're done. So being controversial, you can do that. It is good for publicity as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's fabricated or not is a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're going to put out these opinions which you don't really actually care about is different. But yeah, I mean, controversy does work.
No, I could imagine. So being on such a show then, and then obviously for those that don't know, you were fired, I think 2 episodes ago. No, after you guys did the
week 7.
After you guys did the lunchbox
Lunchbox one was the one.
So coming off the show now, what has it been like, and what's necessary? Did you have like a plan in place of how you're gonna attack things further? Were you just gonna, let's just say, focus on strictly your own business, or were you going to try to reach out to, now that you've got that platform, where you plan to reach out? Like, what's the next step for you then?
Here's something really interesting for you, actually, because a lot of people go onto the show and you think to yourself, oh, you're going to be a millionaire because you're going to get so many sales.
Yeah.
Your brand, your business is in front of loads of other people.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Simba about this as well.
Yeah.
And the show is not designed for business to consumer. It's designed for B2B, business to business.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities based off of that as well. So, you know, I can work with different brands, different companies, and push myself out there in that sense, and investors and all the rest. When it comes to business to consumers, it's not really been a thing.
Yeah.
So all of us candidates, when we first started, we were expecting tons and tons of sales.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened. Not for me, not for anyone. It's grown a little bit, but nowhere near as expected.
Yeah.
Everything else has been opportunities based off of businesses. And it's been incredible because, you know, you can work with these other brands, these other huge companies, you can do more consulting for other people.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, but the opportunities, I can't stress enough. Like, it's been second to none.
No.
It's been incredible.
No, that's great. That's great. So being on that show then, and then obviously finishing up, and then coming out into, let's just say, back into the real world, if that makes sense. Would you say has it been easier to kind of adapt back into like your daily routine, or would you say it's a bit more hands-on? Because obviously, like, for those who don't know, like, before you were here, you're up in Warwick, doing stuff up there now. So would you say like you're a bit more scattered, or is it just a bit more like condensed? Has it gone back to like your usual like type routine?
No, I mean, there's been so many things. You know, everyone wants to have you on just everywhere at the moment. You know, I'm flying out to Lebanon in a couple of weeks as well, working with this charity. I've got this massive TV thing happening soon as well, which I can't talk too much about at the moment. The opportunities are insane. But it's one of those things as well. I was speaking to you about this downstairs, but you have to really reach out for the opportunities.
100%.
And even you know, that show is the biggest business platform you can have in the UK.
Yeah.
The biggest. But even still, you have to chase opportunities. Now, some candidates don't do that. They're more like, do you know what, I'm going to focus on my business, that's all good. And the opportunities don't always come to you. But you always have to be a go-getter no matter what. And you have to be able to put yourself out there, go seek the opportunities, and then you have millions of them come to you.
Yeah.
But they won't just literally just walk to you. You know, you have to be
100%.
active in it. Even me,
100%.
in a show like that, you still have to be active.
No, I totally agree. So with that then, would you say, obviously for those that are either young entrepreneurs that are watching or people that are just intrigued in business, for me, I always try and make it a habit when I get guests on, especially before like we do end the episode, what would you say are your 2 top tips when it comes to being an entrepreneur, and starting a business, or you're actually like having your business? What would you say is like your 2 top tips? If you could give your younger self advice, what 2 advice would you give yourself?
Number 1, don't sell your time. If you sell your time, it is the worst way to make an empire.
Yeah.
So if you want to make an empire, do not sell your time. Do not be doing all the basic work in a business. Have a think about how it's scalable, because you want to play it smart.
Yeah.
If you're going to be selling your time, you're limited on your income. That's just it. You know, you're going to only have like a certain amount of time that you can actually spend on your business, and you don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
You want to be in a whole different country, enjoying your life, rather than work on the business. I remember I was in Portugal, sat on this balcony whilst the whole business was running, and it was incredible.
I could imagine.
Like, that's what you want to be doing. But if I was there selling my time, if I was there teaching classes every single time,
You don't have your time.
exactly, you don't have your time. So that would be my first bit of advice. The second one, I say this to everyone.
Yeah.
Don't be a dreamer, be a doer. I say
100%,
this every single time. Now, everyone listening as well, right? Everyone's going to have this thing where they'll have this business idea and they'll say, this is the best business idea in the world.
Yeah.
We all have it. We're back at school, college, uni, you're chatting to your mates, you're there like, do you know what, this would be so good.
Yeah.
That's always going to stay a dream. Unless you do something about it. And so many people are like that, where they just have this idea, they don't ever push it. But people just need to get off their asses and just get it done. You know, I say this to everyone.
I agree with you.
Put yourself out there, go try it, and you will not regret it. You might lose at maximum, you know, maybe £500, something like that, a bit of your time, but you ain't gonna regret it.
Don't lose experience. No, 100%. Well, you've heard it here. Again, thank you very much for coming on the show. Like, I appreciate you taking the time to come down. Like, just especially within, I think it's all of this was done in less than a week. So
only because you pushed it. You see, you were one of those people who pushed it, right? So you managed to get me on. So fair play to you.
So again, like, thank you very much. And obviously, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. And yeah, it's been Get Back season. Let us know down below what you thought of the episode, what questions you have, and let me know who you want to see next. And hopefully, the more you guys like, the more you guys support the channel. Obviously, we'll aim to get more people on for you guys. But as usual, guys, it's been Get Back season. Thank you, and see you guys next week. Take care.
This is Get Back season, baby.